All things automotive. Have questions? Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD, your South Shore local radio station. It's always a pleasure to be here, and you're probably out. Maybe you're out in your car today, driving around, buying chicken wings for the big Super Bowl party or something. But hopefully you're tuning in and you're listening to the Car Doctor program here on WATD. And if not, you can always listen to it after the fact on the podcast. The podcast did move from the Podbean site. If you listen to the podcast on iTunes or Spotify or any of those more popular podcast sites, just search for it in there. It'll pop up. It's just in a new hosting site, so you'll be able to find it. And it was also changed on the WATD website now. It has the new link. So if you're confused, just go to WATD.com and you can find it there and click on it and go from there. Well, it's that time of year where we think about, you know, what are the best cars for the money, the best new cars for the money, and not necessarily the best new cars, but really how they fit into your budget is important. And today we're seeing the average price of a new car. Now, average means a lot of different things, but the average price of a new car being up around $50,000. The idea that not that many years ago that the luxury tax used to kick in at $32,000. So now you're looking at the average price of cars. So, you know, it's really something that continues to be a major investment. And if you were listening to the program previously, they were talking about what people get paid. And in 1970, the minimum wage was $1.60 an hour. It would take a lot of hours at minimum wage to buy a $50,000 car. Fortunately, cars weren't $50,000 in 1970, but still, it was a big chunk of your paycheck. And today, it is still a big chunk of your paycheck. And with us on the phone is Alex Kwanten. He is the U.S. News Auto's managing editor, and he's going to help us make some sense of this. Alex, good morning, and welcome to the Car Doctor program.
Good morning, John Paul. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. Well, let's talk about how these numbers come together, how you do this. How do you come up with the best cars for the money?
Sure. So we do the Best Cars for the Money Awards every year, right around sort of February. We launch them at the DC Auto Show, which was a couple of weeks ago. And what they are is a combination of the overall score from our basic reviews. You know, we review almost every car. We don't review things like Rolls Royces, but we review most of the cars that most people actually buy. And then we sort of do a deep dive on the data behind those cars, and we formulate our own review score. But then we cross-reference that with the average transaction price on those cars and the total cost of ownership over 5 years. So it has to be, to win one of these awards, it has to be a pretty good car. Like, we have to believe it's a good car, so you have a good experience. But it also has to be affordable up front and affordable down the line. So that factors in all kinds of things like insurance costs, maintenance, warranty. So we really try to look at the whole picture.
And it's sort of interesting that in that list, there's a fair amount of Kias and Hyundais. And I remember when Hyundais first came out at $39.99, I think, or something like that. And cheap up front, expensive to own because they weren't very good cars. But that's all different today. And still popular cars are compact cars. And can you take us through the winners in that category?
Sure, yeah. I also remember those early Hyundais. My Uncle Gene had one of those first Excels, and it wasn't anything but trouble. But they've come a long way, and they've really invested in tech and quality. And, you know, the best compact car for the money is the Kia K4. There were two runners up there, the Honda Civic and the Toyota Corolla. Now, the K4, I think it starts at just a little over $22,000, and even the priciest one If you buy the four-door sedan, they have a new hatchback that's just coming online this month and last month. That's a fractionally more expensive, but even the priciest K4 sedan is under $30,000 out the door. And, those other two are also really good cars, but they either have higher costs of ownership or higher upfront costs, or they weren't as nice a car. So the K4, this is a direct descendant of those early Kias like the Sophia, stuff like that, but it's a really great car. It has really nice interior technology. It looks really stylish. Some people love it or hate its styling, but it definitely looks distinctive. It doesn't look like you settled for an economy car, and that's another kind of value.
Yeah, and looking at the finalists in that category, like you mentioned, the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla, those are sort of always steadfast. You can always count on those cars, but it's sort of interesting that, and I'm sure it's a combination of the great warranty that comes with Kia that kind of steps it up a little bit over that Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, if you're buying new, they have the longest warranty in the class by far. Mitsubishi has a warranty that's similar to Hyundai and Kia, but they don't offer a car in this class anymore. We've be hard pressed in the past to rank a Mitsubishi above a Civic, but it's possible. The car the Kia just offers a lot of style and a lot of value, and it's going to stay that way. And I will say that you have to keep up with maintenance to make sure you get the most out of that warranty, but it's a very hard value proposition to beat.
Let's move down a little bit. People look at hybrids, and especially we're looking at plug-in hybrids these days as being the kind of more popular option. But in a standard hybrid, we always just talk about the Prius. How can you go wrong with the Prius? Mm-hmm. It gets 50 miles per gallon. In the compact class, the Hyundai Elantra hybrid was the winner. I don't know that everybody's that familiar with that car.
Sure. So that is a car that has been really dominant in these awards for the last 5 years. So about at that time, I think it was model year 2021. Hyundai redesigned the Elantra. They made it bigger on the inside and a little bit bigger on the outside. I think if you haven't driven a compact car in like a decade, go get in that car, and it'll feel like a midsize car did a decade ago. That's how much room is inside of it. And the hybrid powertrain, it can give you up to 54 miles per gallon. It's at a lower price point than the Prius. And so when you're thinking about the total value of how much space am I getting? How convenient the car is it? Plus, what's the miles per gallon plus the warranty? That is a really tough proposition to beat. It's just a real power player in that segment. There aren't as many hybrid cars as we thought there would be ultimately, but we actually expanded our award categories this year in the hybrid SUVs because there are so many more now than there were 10 years ago. I think when I look back at the best cars for the money in 2017, we had one hybrid class, and it had maybe 8 entries, and some of them were kind of an odd fit. I think the Chrysler Pacifica hybrid was in there, even though it's a minivan and not an SUV. We just kind of lumped hybrids together. But now there are 24 hybrid SUVs, and they range from really small ones to compact ones to mid-sized ones. There aren't too many full-size ones yet, but they're coming too, and there is at least one. People are really interested in saving money at the pump, and it's not only about affordability when you buy the car, but if you're looking at your monthly payment and you're also looking at your gas expenses month after month after month, there are all these new hybrids that aren't hugely more expensive than their non-hybrid counterparts. So if you're going to keep that car and get a 5 or 6 year loan on it, in that time you're definitely going to see a fuel savings by choosing the hybrid instead. So one thing we noticed, and the reason we expanded, was just people were just clamoring for hybrids.
Yeah, I've noticed that with people that are asking me more questions about new car purchase. And one of the cars that I think sort of shocked people that it's only available in a hybrid now is the Camry. And that did really well in your midsize hybrid category.
It did. That is the best midsize hybrid car for the money this year. I will say that there are hybrids that are maybe a little more refined than the Camry, but, generally speaking, there are only a few midsize cars now, and I think, you've got the Accord hybrid is a runner-up, the Sonata hybrid is back in the mix also. If you want a car that size, the Camry hybrid generally starts a little lower in terms of MSRP than most of its competitors. It has a really good feature set. The Hyundai has a great feature set too, and so does the Honda. But you're just paying a little less per, for the Camry overall. The trims compare really well to those other two, and it's a good car. It's roomy, it's spacious, it looks pretty good. And it's just built like a tank. So it's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, the Camry is one of those cars that you just sort of look at it and go, well, it's going to be a good car for 10, 15, 20 years. It historically always has been, and has been very popular.
Yeah.
Let's skip over. You mentioned SUVs. Let's skip over to SUVs and some of the
Sure.
compact SUVs. And compact SUVs, to me, and maybe in both the compact and subcompact category, as people get a little bit older, those SUVs make a great replacement for that compact or midsize sedan, because you get a little bit better. You're sitting up a little bit higher. You get a little bit better view. They're a little easier to get in and out of, so they can become a very popular new car for somebody who's maybe getting a little bit up in age. And you had some interesting winners in that category, starting with the Nissan Kicks.
Yeah, so the Kicks, I drove the last generation Kicks a few times, and I've only driven this current generation once, but it is wildly improved over the old Kicks. These very small SUVs kind of have come online in the last 10 years, and they're tiny. The Kicks is pretty small, but what you get is like a really good sort of economy car footprint with a little more room in it. And I feel like, as you said, the SUV form factor, even if it's not, like a off-roading Toyota 4Runner type SUV, I think is a little friendlier to human shapes. I think that's one reason why we've drifted back to SUVs from cars. If you look at, like, say, the cars of the 1940s, they all look like SUVs. They have that same shape because that's a good form factor for human bodies, and it's older people with mobility issues, they need a little bit more grace in getting in and out, and entry and egress in an SUV is just easier. But yeah, the Kicks is a great little vehicle. It's super stylish. It has really nice tech features inside, really good infotainment system, and it looks great. In fact, there's a new electric car called the Volvo EX30, which kind of, the Kicks is not as luxurious as the EX30 or as fast, but it looks sort of similar, especially if you get it in that bright yellow color. So in a way, I kind of like it that they've really upped their design game. But I have to say that my favorite of these little subcompact SUVs in this particular award set was the Kia Niro. I know we harped on Kia a lot, but I just drove the Kia Niro hybrid about a month and a half ago, and usually we are often given vehicles to test that are fully loaded vehicles, but we also at U.S. News procure vehicles other ways, and we chose to get an absolute base model for this just to see what it's like to buy the one that's actually less than $30,000 out the door. And I have to say that despite the fact that it has a small infotainment screen and maybe it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, I was extremely impressed with that car. I got 50 miles per gallon out of it. I'm 6'4", and I can fit just fine in the back seat with the front seat adjusted for me. There's lots of cargo room. It looks pretty cool. And, obviously the warranty of all Kias applies to that one, so it's another value add. And I really was very impressed with that. There's now 3 of those little subcompact hybrid SUVs. The Corolla Cross Hybrid was a runner-up, and there's also the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid, which I am also a huge fan of, but the Crosstrek Hybrid costs quite a bit more than the other 2.
Yeah, I want to get back to the Nissan for a minute. I answered a reader question this week. Somebody wanted to know about Nissan products, and I forget exactly what model they were looking for, and I said I really like the vehicle. I'm a little bit afraid of the company itself. Nissan's made some major financial changes, but they're still in a little bit of financial difficulty, right?
They are, in fact. I will say that Nissan seems to be mounting a full frontal product assault with good products. And I think if you're making good vehicles that people like and that are a good value, people will buy them. So I'm optimistic about their ability to recover, especially this kicks the Murano, which was our best two-row SUV for the money, the new Leaf, which was up in the running for best compact electric SUV. It did not win, but it was up in the running. And, they also have recently redone the Armada, and, I just drove the new Nissan Sentra about 3 months ago, and I really liked it. I thought it compared really well to the Kia K4, which we were talking about before. Obviously, it doesn't. We can't evaluate every car that's brand new because we want to make sure that it has a track record of ownership. And I do believe we did evaluate that one in the awards, so it didn't get runner-up. But it's a great value. I mean, even the priciest one is under $30,000, and it's a nice car. It's not exciting to drive, but most of them are really stylish. And I think most people care more about, is it a good value, is it convenient, and does it get good gas mileage rather than 0 to 60 times.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. And you mentioned, if you haven't driven a compact car in the past 10 or 15 years, you get in, you're like, this is as big as, a midsize car. Whether it's a new Toyota Corolla that you compared to a 15-year-old Toyota Camry, you're going to say this is pretty big. Same thing with the compact SUVs that won here, the Kia Sportage Hybrid and the plug-in hybrid Kia Sportage. You get inside of those, and those are about the same size as the former Santa Fe Sport.
Yeah, I would say if you're someone who's been in like a 2006 Toyota Highlander, these are about as big as that is. That's quite a long time ago. But one of the things about the Kia Sportage, which is our best compact hybrid SUV and our best compact plug-in hybrid SUV for the money, is that it has a huge back seat, and so does the Hyundai Tucson, which is the best compact SUV. That Tucson has actually won almost all of our awards because it's huge inside, which is a big factor in terms of comfort. So I think it has like 41 inches of legroom, which is about, I want to say that, and I hope I'm getting my figures correct, but it's about a half an inch to 1 inch shorter, less legroom than a Chevy Tahoe, which is a huge vehicle, right? So you're really getting a lot of room in a pretty small, manageable footprint. And that matters. Not only do you get passenger space, but you also get lots of cargo space. I think the Tucson is one of the best or most capacious models in its class. It has a huge interior. And both of these vehicles, the Sportage and the Tucson, are full of good tech features, and they're just comfy, and I think for a lot of people, it's like, I want to be comfortable. I don't want to have, a lack of back seat space. And if you're buying an SUV, I think that's kind of paramount, especially for family buyers. And there are a lot of families who kind of replaced like midsize sedans with compact SUVs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned tech features, and for people that are going out to buy a new car, and I stole this from a friend of mine, it's important to road test the tech as much as a car, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's where it can be hard on a dealer, like little short test drive, to really get a feel for the tech in a car. Even when we evaluate a car, usually I get a whole week with a car to evaluate it, and I find even that is sometimes, not enough time because you want to learn every feature and you want to practice with the system. And there are some systems which are really unconventional. So like Mazda has this click wheel system. And I think, journalists who get in it and they're in it for one day, they're like, oh, this is frustrating because it's not what they know. But you will acclimatize to it. And in some cases it might be better, but you have to get a feel for it and get used to it. And you may have to have a dealership employee sort of take you through it. In some cases, like at premium brands like Lexus, if you buy one of their cars, they'll have somebody sit with you and go through the system with you. I don't know that you'll get that treatment on most of these volume popular brand vehicles, but it is sort of important to take your time to see, can I use this system? Is it easy to use? Do I like the fact that there are buttons or there are no buttons? Some people really love screens. One thing that we're hearing about from people lately is they hate that, everything's on the screen now, and they would prefer to have physical buttons on the car. In most cases, on the vehicles in this set, they have physical buttons in addition to touch controls. There are a few that have a lot of touch controls, but it's also do you want navigation? Do you need it? Or do you have to spend more for it on a higher trim? You might not if you're willing to use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which they give you navigation by default. So it's worth trying to pair your phone. It's worth trying to just go through the buttons and see how many taps do I have to get to change the menu on this feature or that feature. Like, let's say you listen to a lot of music in the car, you might want to see, like, is the audio tone button in the right place where I can easily change it if I want to? Or do I have to go back and dig through a bunch of menus? Or in the case of some vehicles, like there are some General Motors vehicles where the headlight adjustment is on the menu. There's no button. So you have to navigate through a whole bunch of little taps to get to that feature, and I find that very frustrating. I think, it's worth testing out whatever vehicle you're going to buy and seeing, all right, maybe just sit on the lot and just go through all the stuff on the dashboard and go through the infotainment system, or even watch a couple of videos, or even or read our site, cars.usnews.com. Yep. I have to plug us, because we do take the time in our reviews to go through whether the system's easy to use and how comprehensive it is.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense to be able to try to get as much feel for all of that. And like you said, people, and maybe it's generational, and I'm older, and I still sort of like the Braille method of changing a radio station sometime, where I can keep my eyes on the road, reach over, find the radio button, and be able to change stations without having to take my eyes off the road, look over the screen, tap 3 times to go from FM to AM or FM to satellite or back and forth, whatever the case is. I do like the idea of physical buttons, and again, maybe somewhat generational, but it is what it is. So electric vehicles they were kind of on everybody's list a few years ago. They sort of softened a bit over the past few months, but still, and I go on to say that we live in the golden age of the automobile right now, where you can go and buy a gasoline car, a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, a fully electric car, something that runs on diesel. We have a lot of choices right now, and I love the idea that electric vehicles are one of those choices. Pure electric vehicles are fun to drive, and if it fits your lifestyle, it's a perfect vehicle. And the winner in that compact category was a Chevrolet Equinox, and I drove that about a year ago at this time, and what a great little car.
It's sort of an unsung hero in that class, and I feel like it deserves more attention. I mean, that vehicle in the best compact EV SUV for the money, that beat out like the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6. So it was like really good vehicles that it beat. And it beat them basically on value. You've been in it too. I've driven it a couple of times. I wouldn't say it's the most exciting vehicle to drive. It's good if you get the higher power one. It's pretty quick, but it's really nice inside. There's lots of room inside. It looks really good, and it comes with pretty good features. If your lifestyle will fit it, it's a great option in terms of saving money. And I actually think Chevrolet has ladled on a whole bunch of incentives on top of it. Even though we don't have the EV tax credits anymore, they are incentivizing it. So it's actually even better of a value than when we put it on the list. I think that you need to basically be able to reliably charge at home, and that charging cost needs to be pretty reasonable. I live out in Seattle. I'm originally from New York, but I live in Seattle now. And out here, most of the electricity is fairly inexpensive, and it comes from hydroelectric. And if you own your own home and you park at home and charge it overnight, you will save a lot of money and also a lot of time. Like, think about if you're a family, picking up the kids from school, and then you got to go to the gas station and fill that up, and it's 15 minutes out of your day or 20 minutes to the drive to the gas station. Suddenly you don't have to do that anymore if you're just charging the car at home. If your lifestyle doesn't fit it and you are constantly at the fast charger, I'm not sure that the equation is really the same. But I feel like charging infrastructure gets better and better and better. And I know that EVs right now, they've kind of taken a hit because the tax credit ended, and so like people pulled their purchases forward before because they knew the tax credit was going to go away. So EV sales have dropped, but I do think that once you've driven one for a while or lived with one, you can kind of see the power advantages and the money-saving advantages. And, I know that a lot of people have concerns about like, oh, is the battery going to go bad after a few years? It probably won't. It may not have the full charge, but I'll say I have a friend with a 2013 Nissan Leaf. It still has about 60% of its range, and I have another friend with a 2013 Tesla Model S, and it still has about 65% of its original range, which is, not great. But I mean, that's certainly much better than some people predicted that these cars would last 5 years and be gone. So I also feel the same way about hybrid batteries. There were some early hybrids where the batteries weren't great, but in general, the hybrid batteries hold up pretty well.
Yeah, every time I'm in a taxi or a Uber or Lyft, and it happens to be a hybrid, and especially taxis because they run 24 hours a day, I always ask, what do you get for life out of the batteries? And every Camry I've ever been in, every Camry hybrid, they're like 350,000. I'm like, geesh, yeah. Okay, I guess. Yeah. And that might only be 4 years old at that point. But yeah, the idea of getting 350,000 miles out of a hybrid battery, is pretty phenomenal. So yeah, the batteries last really well. Before we let you go, very popular category: mid-size and full-size truck. Full-size truck, Toyota F-150. I guess no real surprise there, right?
Yeah, the Ford F-150, it offers the most for the most people. I mean, it's the most configurable vehicle in America, and even the lower trims like the STX don't really skimp on the features anymore. Like it used to be that if you bought the work truck grade, you got really just no infotainment at all. It is totally like the most bare bones thing, and it's still bare bones, relatively speaking. I mean, these trucks go up to like you could spend $100,000 on the truck if you really want to. But in general, the F-150 just is a great value proposition, and we, some of the other trucks had pretty big increases in their total cost of ownership year over year. Like the Ram 1500 seemed to be more expensive this year than it had been in years past. So, the Tundra is the runner-up there, and it's a hybrid, and the real nice thing there is fuel savings. But of course, the F-150 offers non-hybrid, hybrid, V8, whatever you want. So there's just a lot of choices there. And the Tacoma, no surprise there. Just really, it's like built of iron. It just has such a great reliability record, and it's a relatively affordable truck that it's just great. And if you want to see the other winners and even the finalists, you can go to cars.usnews.com and check them all out.
Yeah, and what's kind of also fun is, go back in the previous winners. Go back to 2016, 2017, 2018, and, see how those cars compared to today's cars. It's a fun way to go. And on the cars.usanews.com site, you have some new car rankings in there, used car rankings, best cars for families, which I just answered another reader question. It was a family that got together. They have a bunch of kids, and they're looking for the best vehicle that would fit that category. And then best vehicle brands are in there. There's a lot of research information that people can find on cars.usnews.com, right?
That's right. Yeah, we review everything, and we hope to give you the best guidance you can. And going into the dealership, we want you to be forewarned and forearmed.
There you go. I think my fourth grade teacher said that on test day.
Well, I think most people find going to the dealer to be a little bit of a test, and if you can go in there with the information you need and we can give it to you, that'd be great. Our goal is to give people the information that's going to help them make good decisions. So cars.usnews.com. That's it.
There we go. Alex, thanks for taking some time out of your Sunday morning and joining us on West Coast time.
That's right. Early here.
All right.
Thank you, John Paul.
Take care. Have a great rest of the day, and don't know what your football affiliation is, but we kind of want the Pats to win.
Well, I'm out here in Seattle, so
I know.
May the best team win,
Yeah, all right. Take care, Alex. Have a great day.
Take care. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Why don't we take a break, pay some bills? If you would like to join us, phone number 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900 is how you get through and talk to us. You can talk cars, you can talk car repair, new cars, used cars, or maybe how you make chicken wings for the Super Bowl. I don't know. All those things. Just give us a call at 781-837-4900. You'll listen to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
Hi, this is Liz Loans. Tune in to Twilight Showcase Radio, hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James. Visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Our phone number again, 781-837-4900. Jesse, do you have a favorite chicken wing recipe?
Recipe? I mean, I make a good buffalo sauce. I'm going to try out teriyaki today. I'm going to make some homemade teriyaki sauce, make some teriyaki wings. What we're doing is for the Super Bowl party, everyone's bringing their own homemade wings. And, we'll have a big variety. That's the plan. And we have another one, another little trick for today. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but we're going to spin a wheel, and whoever's name it lands on, they have to root for the Seattle Seahawks.
Really?
The whole game. Yeah, we bought face paint for them, a shirt. Whoever loses, I hope it's not me. They got to root for the wrong team.
Oof. That is, can't you just eat somebody else's hot chicken wings instead?
Well, I guess you could, but unless you want to watch the game from the driveway because you won't be allowed in the house, those are the rules.
Well, interesting. Well, if listeners want to share their Super Bowl party games, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, if you want to talk about cars. I write a variety of columns, and one of them is in the website for WPIX TV. It's in New York, and the person who goes back and forth with me on the column said, you seem to get an awful lot of questions about fluids. Do they, how often do they need to be changed? And can you put together a little fluid guide? And they want to do it for something called You Ought to Know, which is a couple of reporters take what I write and chit-chat back and forth about it. And I hate to say it, but sometimes the most information just comes, I don't know why I hate to say it, but the most information comes from the owner's manual. And, I can give you advice, your Uncle Tony can give you advice, people can give me advice, but look in the owner's manual. And sometimes you look in the owner's manual and it will say something like, and this was recently, somebody with a BMW said, how often should I change the transmission fluid in my BMW? And BMW says it's good for life. But if you look up the people who made the transmission, they say change it at 60,000 miles. So you can get a little bit of conflicting advice, but on the other hand, if all you want to do is be able to satisfy warranty issues and things like that, follow the owner's manual. But sometimes, we think of fluids, they're sort of the lifeblood of the vehicle. Your engine isn't going to run without oil. Your transmission is not going to run without transmission fluid, things like that. So sometimes it's like, do you flush out the fluid? Do you top off the fluid? Do you drain and refill the fluid? Flushing the fluid removes all the old fluid, at least in theory it does. So we'll say a transmission, for instance. Well, they force in new fluid, it pushes out the old fluid, and you end up with all new fluid in the vehicle. I think the best way to do that is still to remove the pan and remove the filter if you're going to go through all that work. But it cleans all the contaminants, sludge, even rust and metal that's in there. I'm not a big fan of flushing transmission fluid unless you've done it very routinely, because there are some tests that show that the friction material inside a transmission, the clutches, the clutch material, having some of that material in suspension is what helps the transmission as it wears shift properly. So when you replace all the fluid and you take out some of those contaminants, it may not shift quite the same as it did before. Maybe it's going to shift better, maybe it's going to shift worse. It's going to shift better if there was sticky valves in the transmission, but it might not shift quite the same as it did before. I prefer to flush transmissions sort of as a last-ditch effort. If the transmission's acting up, it's not functioning properly, you've tried additives, fully flush it out and see if you can get some more life out of it. Let's face it, if it's not shifting properly, it's slipping, it's slow to engage, it's probably near the end of its life. But maybe you can flush out the fluid and maybe you can get a little bit more time out of it. It's entirely possible. Draining and refilling to me is what most vehicle manufacturers recommend, and that removes most of the fluid depending on what it is, and it's probably the most common type of service. Engine oil, I never recommend flushing an engine, and neither does any other vehicle manufacturer that I know of. It's much better change it when it needs to be changed, depending on how you drive. Most of the time, you're changing oil somewhere between 3,500 and 10,000 miles, depending on the car. The only way I would ever go longer than that is to have the oil analyzed. So maybe you could go 20,000 or 30,000 miles if you've had the oil analyzed and show that there hasn't been any viscosity shear, so it hasn't changed its viscosity. There's no contaminants in it, and that could be anything from fuel to coolant. You could do that. I was talking to somebody with a piece of industrial equipment. I think it was a big wood chipper thing. And I said something about it was brand new, and he was being very fussy with it. And I said something about changing the oil on it. And he said, yeah, I really need to change the oil pretty often. I want to make sure it lasts good. But the thing held like 20 quarts of oil. Ridiculous amount of oil. And I said to him, maybe what you should consider is changing the filter and just changing and then sending a sample of the oil out to be tested for $25 or $30. See how the oil is doing. And you may find that because you've had the oil tested periodically, the oil's fine. There's been no viscosity breakdown. There's no contamination. None of those kind of things you need to worry about. And maybe you don't have to spend an outrageous amount of money to change the oil in it. Depending on when and how you drive, people that drive performance cars, driven more aggressively. Long-distance commuters, because you're going to be driving a lot, long-distance commuters that are stuck in traffic. Sometimes you need to look at that. Short-distance drivers, people that only drive a mile or two a day sometimes, you can get some gasoline contamination in oil because the oil hasn't fully warmed up. You haven't really got the engine good and hot. It hasn't evaporated that moisture out of the out of the engine. So sometimes short distance drives can require that too. I think every week I get an email from somebody who doesn't drive a car very much, maybe only a few thousand miles a year, and they're like, well, it cost me $100 to do an oil change. Do I really need to change the oil every year? In my opinion, absolutely. A once-a-year oil change is very important. I don't know that I've ever seen any vehicle manufacturer, with the exception of maybe a plug-in hybrid, that didn't have time and mileage together. Usually what you see is on almost every vehicle, especially the ones that have long intervals between oil changes, like 10,000 miles, it'll still say if the oil reminder light hasn't come on in a year, change the oil. It's important to do. And as important, especially with these long oil change intervals, is check the oil level regularly, once a month or so, to know how it's doing. Some cars, like Volkswagens, for instance, consume more oil. Audis, the 2-liter engine in an Audi, can be an engine that uses oil. We see engines that are considered normal to use a quart of oil in 800 or 1,000 miles. The manufacturers think it is. So looking at that is also important. Engine coolant, antifreeze, I have seen, it used to be every 2 years. You drain the radiator, put new coolant in, and you're good to go. Today we're seeing coolant. Audi, in some of their cars, considers their coolant a lifetime fill. But most cars, most conventional coolant, you get about 3 years out of it. Sometimes you get 5. The lifetime coolant, I suppose. I mean, I look at my cars and I check the coolant pretty regularly in both cars. Both of them look good. Do I need to change them? I probably should. One of the important things is brake fluid. Brake fluid absorbs moisture over time. I'm a big believer in changing brake fluid every 3 or 4 or 5 years, somewhere in that category. Even though some manufacturers don't recommend it, all the tests we've done at AAA shows that brake fluid does attract moisture. You can get this electronic tester to test your brake fluid. It looks for moisture in the fluid. Also, you get these dip strip kind of things, the same thing you would use in a swimming pool. You dip it in there and it tells you if there's fluid contamination. Both of them, I think, work really well. The last package of dip strips I bought was pretty inexpensive. The electronic tester, $20 on Amazon, something like that. It'll do its job. Our phone number, 781-837-4900, is how you get through, just like our buddy Tom from Kingston. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I am doing well.
Good. You're missing all the winter wonderland.
I hear that. Yeah. But I'm here drinking a cup of tea because it was a little cool this morning.
Oh.
I've had my I had a cup of coffee and I said, I think I'll switch to tea.
My brother went down there for a couple months. He'll be coming back, I think, the end of March. He wanted to come back early because he misses his grandchildren.
Oh, yeah.
And he misses the snow. He says, I'm crazy. People want to come down here, and I want to go back to Massachusetts. And he lives out in your part of the neck of the woods there in Abington, where he used to live.
Yep.
And
I still think of myself as living there. I don't know why, but I still do.
Well, you know it good enough, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know where to get the best turkey sandwich around.
I do.
Yeah.
And I have a pretty good idea where to get the best pizza around, too. But we'll save that for another time.
That's it. That's when Junior's around. We'll talk.
Yeah.
He's there.
Yeah. I haven't heard from him in a while. I got to check on him. See how he's doing.
He's getting old and decrepit like the rest of us.
Well, I don't know if he's getting decrepit, but he's not in the shop as much as he used to. He's got some stuff going on at home and all that. So yeah.
He's got a great team there. That's for sure.
He does. Yep.
Hey, got a couple questions. First of all, when the guy was talking this morning about the different cars, an average car going for like $50,000. What is it? Any idea what it costs a manufacturer to make a $50,000 car?
Probably in the $30,000 range, I bet.
Okay, yeah.
Because by the time you build it, and the cost involved in building it, and then transportation, marketing, all that sort of stuff, I bet that from manufacturer to retail price, I bet is a pretty good spread. Now, from what the dealer pays for it to retail price, a little different story. But I bet it's in that range. Yeah.
Yeah, that's curious. I have a Toyota Sienna, and I have to get an oil change. And I looked up the specs on it. It needs 6 quarts of oil. And it's like, what a pain. Because you usually buy the container.
And then you buy the $9 quart of oil afterwards.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah, both. Well, I should say the 3 cars that we currently own all have odd amounts of oil. The little SUV takes like 5 3/4 quarts. The Volkswagen that we keep up north takes 6 1/4 quarts, and the Volkswagen. The little bit newer one, it seems like all of our cars are old now, but the little bit newer one.
And what about the weight?
Yeah.
The weight's the same, or the weight all different?
Well, they're all different.
Right.
And the Volkswagens use European spec oil because they have to. Why they couldn't use any other brand of oil. And it's kind of interesting, the Hyundai that we own very specifically, recommended 5W20 oil when it was new. And because Hyundai's had engine problems, they switched it over to 5W30 oil. So at least the oil's more available than the 520, which was not quite as easy to get. But yeah, right. I run into the same problem. I go and in the Hyundai, because Hyundai's had problems with a lot of problems, but they've had problems with oil consumption and carbon buildup on the rings, and some of the ones that burn a lot of oil. They tried to do this carbon clean thing, which didn't work 99% of the time. So I've been using Valvoline Restore and Protect oil trying to figure it will clean some of the junk out of the, that could build up in the rings. And I think the single quart of that was like $10. Killed me.
That hurts.
Yeah.
So you stretch the oil changes at that point?
Well, I don't. I still do oil changes when they're supposed to be done. But and it's interesting that one way I've saved money is buying the Hyundai oil filters. Because I go look at the shelf of, pick Purolator or, Fram,
right,
which I'm
right.
not a huge fan of, but, Wix, and they're all Wix and Purolator and some others all made by the same company. I look at those, and those filters are like $10 or $11, and I can go online and buy the factory filter for like 4 of them for $20. And I'm like, well, that saved a little bit of money.
Oh, definitely. The weird thing also, new subject, my son bought a Volkswagen, I don't know, Jetta or something like that, and it's a diesel. And I always remember way back when, 1,000 years ago, when diesel fuel used to be cheaper than gas. And now, diesel fuel is more expensive.
Than premium.
And with the price of oil coming down, you'd think diesel fuel would come down in price also.
You would think so, but no. And, and it's sort of interesting that, I still need to be aware of all the gasoline and oil prices in New England. And I look at the cost of diesel in Massachusetts and the cost of diesel at the local Murphy's gas station near here. And it is quite a bit cheaper here. And the only reason I can think of that is there's less of a market for it, because not that there isn't less of a diesel fuel market. There's less of a market for, heating oil is kind of the same as diesel. So it uses up all of the, when crude oil is being made into gasoline, it's also being made into a whole bunch of other stuff. And one of it is heating oil. And especially in the Northeast, it's been cold and people are burning a lot of oil. And a lot of the energy plants, a lot of them are natural gas, but some are still oil. And some are still coal, for that matter. But you look at the overall energy costs, and part of it living in the Northeast, affects, heating oil prices affect diesel fuel prices, and you kind of look at it and go, well, yeah, but didn't the hasn't oil gone down? Well, it's gone down, it's gone up, it's gone down, it's gone up. It's a reporter. I did an interview on Channel 10, NBC Boston, or I think, and this week, and they said to me, what is it? And I said, well, this time it's actually more geopolitical than supply, because it seems to be every time somebody shakes a saber somewhere, oil prices go up.
Right. Yeah.
So, again, I don't talk politics, but I do see how politics
how it affects the market.
Will affect the market. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I hope you have a good week. Good
you
talking
as well?
as usual.
All right. Take care,
All right.
Tom. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Jesse, do you want to take a break, or you want to go to Mike in Bridgewater?
We can go to Mike real quick.
All right. Let's go to Mike. Michael?
Morning, John.
Morning.
Hi. I called you a couple of months ago seeking your counsel. It was concerning
on my favorite chicken wing recipe.
we can throw that in there too. Sure, why not? It was concerning the air pressure monitors icon coming on the dashboard, and it was coming on, coming off every once in a while. I have one of those cars that gives you the exact readout for all four tires, and as you said, it was going to eventually come on and stay on. So, and you suggested that I get it fixed. Well, just for the heck of it, since I haven't gotten it fixed, yesterday I just went to the page there that shows you that on the monitor, and sure enough, they all came back, and I'm looking at all the numbers, and oh, wow, it's all fixed because the icon has gone off. It wasn't looking at me every morning, so, out of sight, out of mind. Then I stopped, started the car up, and no more numbers. Does that give you any clue? Anything about, is this something related to the winter issues, or is it because it was a couple of months ago, John, and it wasn't this winter time, and I just was,
cold weather can have an effect. Remind me how old the car is again.
Okay, so it's a 2016 Lexus
Yep.
ES300H.
Okay. Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
and it could be just, when you don't drive. First off, they don't really work until you get up around 20 miles an hour. The second thing is that once you get 20 miles an hour, the radio signals from the sensors start to beam over to probably the antenna that's mounted in the side view mirror and tells the body control computer, here's how much air pressure is in the tires.
Okay.
The longer you drive, the more that little battery that's inside those sensors is going to be transmitting that information. So and the typical life is somewhere between 7 and 10 years. So
yes.
You're probably at the end of the useful life of the batteries inside those pressure sensors. And if you go for, sometimes what can happen, as an example, you have a car that everything's working fine, and you go on a 3-hour drive, and all of a sudden the low tire light icon starts to flash or just comes on and lets you know that it's not reading anything. That's because you've gone long enough where one or two of the sensors have completely blanked out and are not transmitting anymore. So it's probably the sensors are just at the end of their life and they can't transmit, so that's why it's showing them all as blank. Could it be something related to the tire pressure monitor module or wiring or the antenna? Maybe. Could the cold have caused a soldered joint to act up? Maybe. But normally it's just and what somebody will do is they'll take the tire pressure monitor tool and they'll read to see whether it's transmitting. But chances are and you can kind of do it with a scan tool too. Chances are it's probably not transmitting anymore, and it just shut the system down.
Got it. And the fact that it came back on just for that, I hadn't had it on there for a while. It came back on yesterday, worked fine, and then stopped the car. And next thing I came up with blanks on the 4 tires.
I mean, it's like no different than you're changing TV channels on your remote, and the remote's working fine, and all of a sudden you go to use it and it won't work anymore, and you're like, what's wrong? And then you forget about it for a little bit, and you come back, and then the remote's working again. The batteries are just on that edge of working or not working.
Yeah, I hate when that happens, John. All right, listen, I know you've got to go to break, but I will wish you a happy Valentine's Day because you've already got a Valentine by not being here and freezing to death. All right, John.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Ciao.
Bye-bye. See you, Mike. Why don't we take a break? When we come back, we got a little bit of time left. If you want to join us, 781-837-4900. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join. The Bethany Builders podcast crew is out west. Join host Sophia Bethany, principal builder Chris Bethany, WBC TV sports director Steve Burton, and former Patriots player Christian Faurier as they broadcast live from California, bringing you on-site coverage and a full preview of the big game featuring the Patriots and Seahawks. They'll have interviews, game analysis, and all the excitement leading up to the big game. Don't miss the Bethany Builders Podcast special reports from California at a special Bethany Builders Podcast show Sunday afternoon from 12:15 to 1 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Jesse, why didn't we go do a live program from the Super Bowl?
We were left out again. We weren't asked.
I know. Sort of disappointing.
I'm surprised they didn't really want the hot sports takes from the guy who talks about cars and the guy who talks about ghosts. But they're missing out.
It's all good. But it would have interrupted your Super Bowl party, so it's fine.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah. So,
I was down on Radio Row years ago, actually, for the It was the Super Bowl in Miami with the Colts versus the Saints. And we were down there for about 10 days. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool to be among the Super Bowl celebrations.
I would imagine it is. Many years ago, when I was on a station 4 stations away or something, one of the board op engineer people was Dennis Knudsen, and Dennis is the tech guy for one of the sports channels now, and I think he was out there setting up equipment on Radio Row on Monday, and kind of looking forward to it. But I remember there was, and it might have been the World Series or something, and he said, I just wanted to get over, I want to go home, and because weather was nice still, and just wanted to go home. So there you go. So maybe it's not as much fun as you hope sometimes. So
yeah, maybe not. I remember the one down in Miami. There were celebrities everywhere. Like you would just walk the street, like, oh, that's that guy, that's that guy. And I remember we saw just a mob of security guards surrounding one guy. We're like, oh, who is that? It must be a real big celebrity. And mind you, this is the only celebrity down in Miami that was walking around with a bunch of security around him. And that celebrity that required so much security was Guy Fieri.
Really?
And we're like, and no one was even trying to come up and talk to him. We're like, why is Guy Fieri the only celebrity down here with 9 security guards just blocking the road, so he can get through? It's like, I don't think you're as big of a deal as you think you are, buddy. I like him, though. He gets a lot of hate for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of wonder whether sometimes they do that just on purpose.
Yeah, just so people will pull out their phones and take pictures and be like, oh, yeah, but I don't know. You got him right there. You got Scott Van Pelt walking around, Mike Vick, like all these big celebrities just walking around, and then it's just Guy Fieri, the inaccessible, one. It's crazy.
I saw Madonna buying beer once. Thought that was weird.
He doesn't look like a guy who drinks beer.
Madonna
looks a little like a guy who drinks beer, but no, it's Guy Fieri. No, I'm just kidding. It's beautiful.
I was a little shocked actually, but yeah. No, and it always seemed like whenever I was in New York for the auto show, I'd always run into, celebrities who lived in New York. They'd be kind of walking around, and they would be pretty well known, and, you'd be like, they're just kind of out by themselves. I was in some little burger place in L.A., and there was some relatively famous TV person that came in, and I didn't even really know who they are, but they went over, and, people went over and talked to them. I'm like, they're just hanging out, getting a burger like me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I actually sent Guy Fieri an email once to see whether he would be on the program to talk about his Camaro that he has half a dozen collector cars, and just to see if he would do it. And big surprise, never heard back.
I bet he would, though. He seems like a cool guy.
He's in Rhode Island a lot because his in-laws live in Rhode Island.
I hear that's where he frosts his tips.
Oh,
get that interesting hairstyle.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Big sale on, what is it, visors? Is that the kind of hat he wears?
Yeah. No, so, it's just one of those, I just said, yeah. And I think back when Facebook wasn't that popular, he was, it was really him on Facebook. And I think I sent him a message on Messenger or something, and got nothing back. Then I found his email and sent him an email message, and nothing back. So it is that, and maybe someday I'll run into him in one of his restaurants and ask him. Who knows?
Sorry if that was a question to me. I missed that.
Well, that's fine because you got work to do up there.
I do. I got to play your outro song now.
I know. It's almost time, right? There it is.
Is
this a new one, by the way? Is this a new Jesse Wilkins original?
Kinda.
Well, I haven't been. Spotify hasn't reached out to me and said you're playing copywritten material. So
that's right. It's because I made it from scratch.
Yeah, in 13 seconds.
Yeah, me and my band of robots.
Yeah, well, you did a good job. So,
thanks.
Next week, we're going to be talking to somebody about a very affordable online database where you can learn more about your car, repair manuals, all that kind of stuff. That's coming up next week. And until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car. And if you do see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. Super Bowl parties, please don't drink and drive or be impaired and drive. Stay late at someone's house if you have to. And go Pats. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.
Start the new